India-Oman FTA. Why could this deal change India's game? Just imagine. A world where you wake up in the morning to news that tariffs have been raised somewhere, imports have been restricted elsewhere, and signs of a trade war are everywhere. The global economy is filled with fear, uncertainty, and pressure. At such a time, a piece of news suddenly emerges: India and Oman have signed an FTA. At first glance, it may seem like just another routine diplomatic headline. But if you think a little deeper, this is where a much bigger story begins. A story that is not limited to trade between two countries, but also points toward India's global strategy, its growing influence in the Middle East, and the economic direction of the coming years. You should know that the phase the world is going through today has turned the very idea of free trade into a big question mark. From the United States to Europe, discussions about raising tariffs are becoming louder. Protectionism appears to be making a comeback. In such an environment, the free trade agreement between India and Oman is not just a deal, it is a message that India still believes in open trade, connectivity, and long-term growth. But the real question is, what exactly is an FTA? How does it work? And why is the India-Oman deal being considered so important? Free Trade Agreement, or FTA, gives a basic idea from its name itself. It is an agreement between two or more countries in which they decide to make trade with each other easier. Easier does not only mean removing taxes. It also means reducing all kinds of obstacles that slow down trade. When two countries sign an FTA, they're essentially saying that they will reduce or eliminate tariffs, duties, and often unnecessary regulations on each other's goods and services, so that trade can grow faster. One thing is very important to understand here. A free trade agreement does not mean that everything will become zero tax. There is hardly any FTA in the world where every product is completely tax-free. In reality, an FTA is a balancing act. Countries assess which sectors they are strong in and which sectors are sensitive. Strong sectors are given export opportunities, while sensitive sectors are kept protected. If we look at the India-Oman FTA, this deal is a good example of that balance. Under this agreement, nearly 98% of India's exports to Oman will get duty-free access. This means textiles, agricultural products, leather goods, gems and jewelry, engineering goods, all of these will now enter the Omani market with little or no tax. The direct result is that Indian goods will become cheaper, more competitive, and easier to sell in Oman's market. On the other hand, India will also reduce tariffs on certain products coming from Oman, such as dates, marble, and some petrochemical items. These products play an important role in Oman's economy. But India has been cautious here as well. Sectors that India considers sensitive, such as dairy products, tea, coffee, rubber, tobacco, gold and silver, footwear, and some labor-intensive industries, have been kept out of this deal. That means no major concessions have been given on these items. This is the real wisdom of an FTA. Every country understands the vital nerves of its own economy. India knows that agriculture and certain labor-intensive sectors are linked to employment on a very large scale. If these sectors were suddenly opened up, domestic industries could suffer. That is why the FTA clearly ensures protection for these areas. Now the question arises, does an FTA only mean lowering taxes, or is there more to it? The answer is much more. In fact, modern FTAs are not limited to goods alone. They also include services, investment, movement of professionals, standards, certification, and even issues like social security. In the India-Oman FTA, services have been given special importance. Oman's total service imports are worth billions of dollars, but India's share in this is still very small. This means there is a huge opportunity for Indian companies and professionals. IT services, professional consulting, education, healthcare, research, and development. These are all areas where Indian companies are already strong. After this deal, India's presence in these sectors can increase. Another important aspect of this agreement is the movement of Indian professionals and workers. The Middle East has always been a major destination for Indian workers. But now the focus is not limited to labor alone. Skilled professionals, engineers, IT experts, doctors, and teachers may find it easier to work in Oman. This will not only open up new employment opportunities, but will also strengthen India's economy through remittances. There is another strategic angle hidden here. Oman is not just a country, it is a gateway. It is an important link between West Asia and Africa. If Indian companies strengthen their presence in Oman, they can gain access to the entire region. In other words, Oman can become not just a trade partner for India, but a launchpad. It is also important to look at the timing of this deal. At a time when many major countries are talking about raising tariffs, and when countries like the United States are moving towards closing their markets, India signing a new FTA shows that it is looking at its trade strategy with a long-term perspective. India understands that global supply chains are changing, and the countries that build new partnerships in time will move ahead. Another less discussed but very important aspect of FTAs is non-tariff barriers. Many times, the bigger problem is not taxes but certification, standards, and approvals. To sell goods in another country, dozens of permissions, tests, and paperwork are required. Under an FTA, these processes are simplified. This means Indian companies will face less time, less cost, and less hassle while doing business in Oman. This agreement also opens doors for investment. Oman has provided for allowing 100% foreign direct investment for Indian companies in several sectors. This means Indian companies can set up businesses there entirely on their own. This will not only boost trade, but will also strengthen technology transfer, local employment, and long-term partnerships. Now the question also arises, are all FTAs automatically beneficial? History shows that they are not. An FTA is beneficial only when a country enters it with proper preparation. For India, this deal is an opportunity, but also a responsibility. Indian exporters will have to meet standards of quality, timing, and international benchmarks. Merely reducing taxes will not be enough if the product or service is not of global quality. This FTA can also be a major opportunity for India's small and medium businesses. Millions of MSMEs operate in sectors like textiles, leather, and agriculture. With the right support and information, these small businesses can also establish their presence in markets like Oman. This is where the government and industry will need to work together. Another interesting aspect is the issue of social security. This agreement keeps the door open for future discussions on a social security agreement. This means that in the future, Indian workers in Oman could receive better social security benefits and get relief from issues like double contributions. This shows that the deal is not just about business, but also connected to people's lives. Looking at the bigger picture, the India-Oman FTA reflects India's thinking of building different strategic partnerships across different regions. On one hand, India is signing agreements with Europe and Asia, and on the other, it is strengthening its presence in the Middle East and Africa. This diversification will help India avoid dependence on any single market in the future.
If our video has taught you something new, do not forget to like and share this video so that this information can reach others as well. Your likes and shares are a source of inspiration for us. If you have any questions or suggestions, please let us know in the comments. It will be our honor to answer your questions and listen to suggestions. And yes, if you like our content, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you stay connected with every new story. Thank you. GRT Business YouTube channel sources, news from various news agencies, opinion polls and other public sources. We try to ensure that every report and summary is accurate and verified, but we are not responsible for any dispute or error. Our aim is only to provide you with accurate information.